Okay, it is 7 o'clock somewhere, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the regular City Council meeting for Minnetrista of August 21st, 2023. First item, I'd like to encourage all of you, remind all of you to turn your phones on silent or airplane mode so they don't disrupt the meeting. And then second, I'd like to ask that you all join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So welcome everyone this evening. We have a nice group here tonight. Can't imagine why, right? So welcome, and I'm glad you're here. Our first order, I'd like to do some introductions. I'm Lisa Whalen, I'm the mayor, and to my left are council members Kathleen Refkin, Ann McGregor, and Peter Vickery. We have a council member absent this evening, Claudia Lacey, but then on the end we have our WSB engineer, Allison Fauski. We have our director of public works, Gary Peters, and then Angie Bowl is sitting in as our city clerk this evening. And then to my left, we have our city administrator, Jasper Krugel, and then we have finance director, Brian Grimm, and we have David Abel, our community development director. And then welcome back. We have Ron Beatty, our city attorney with Kennedy and Graven. He's sitting in for Sarah Sensala tonight. I think Sarah's a little prettier. But you're well informed, so that's good. You know, we love you, Ron. Glad you're here. And then, of course, we have our chief of police, Paul Falls. So with that, approval of the agenda, just real quick, do we need to just move the one public hearing item to business item?
It's up to you, Madam Mayor.
Why don't we just, because we do need two resolutions, I believe. Correct. So why don't we move, so the approval of the final plat for Woodland Cove 10th edition, is not required to have a public hearing, so that's going to be moved to a business item. I don't have any other changes. Are there any other changes or additions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Refkin. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. McGregor. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 4-0. So next we have a special presentation. First, we have our swearing in of one of our brand new police officers, Chase Dwinell. Thank you for coming and congratulations. I'm going to hand it over to Chief Falls. You want to take it?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. It's always an honor to be able to swear in a new officer. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started. So I'm going to read a few lines here, and then we'll do the actual swearing in. Officer Chase Dwinell began employment with the City of Minnetrista in June of 2022 as a community service officer. While working as a CSO, Officer Dwinell completed his associate's degree in law enforcement from Ridgewater Community College. Officer Dwinell attended skills training at Alexandria Technical College earlier this year from May until July. After skills training, Officer Dwinell successfully completed his post-license exam and became eligible to be licensed. Officer Dwinell was promoted to police officer and began working in that capacity on August 4th of this year. Officer Dwinell is our 14th police officer. Officer Dwinell is currently completing field training and will be assigned to a patrol shift sometime later this fall. So I'd just like to point out that typically, officers go through college and skills and taking their post-license exam. That takes quite a long time to do that. And I'd just like to commend Officer Dwinell because he really did this above and beyond. He was working full-time, going to school, had to facilitate getting into skills, which isn't an easy task. He went to Alexandria, so he had to move away from home to make that happen. And he did everything he could possibly do to get that completed as quickly as he could. So congratulations for that, because that's quite an accomplishment, and I just want to point that out. I did it much faster than the average officer normally does that. So we are very, very excited to have Officer Dwinell as part of our team. So at this time, I'd like to invite Mayor Whalen, Lieutenant Squires, and Officer Dwinell to the podium.
All right. repeat after me. On my honor as a member of the Minnetrista Public Safety Department,
On my honor as a member of the Minnetrista Public Safety Department,
I will uphold the mission of the department
I will uphold the mission of the department
by fighting crime and promoting safety.
by fighting crime and promoting safety.
I will uphold my badge,
I will uphold my badge,
my integrity,
my integrity,
my character,
my character,
and the public trust.
and the public trust.
I will uphold the Constitution
I will uphold the Constitution
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the laws of the state of Minnesota,
the laws of the state of Minnesota,
and the values of this community,
and the values of this community,
and the policies of our department,
and the policies of our department.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
He's actually taking selfies.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Very good. Okay, so next on the agenda, we have another special presentation from Three Rivers Park District, Marge Beard. Marge is our district representative on Three Rivers Park District Board. So welcome, Marge. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Mayor. It's my pleasure to be here. My goal is I hope you learn something about Three Rivers Park District tonight. So at Three Rivers, our mission is to promote environmental stewardship through recreation and education in a natural resources-based park system. So one of the things that makes Three Rivers different than other parks is we're natural resource-based. So everything we do has that flavor within it. So for example, if you've been to our parks, you won't see things like ball fields, right? So they tend to be city type parks versus a natural resource-based park. And everything we do is really focused on trying to find a way to connect people with nature every single day. So who is this Three Rivers, right? So we were established by the state legislature in 1957, so we are indeed a standalone unit, local unit of government. We are organized around a board of commissioners that kind of like the mayor and council. So we have 7 commissioners. 5 commissioners are elected. I serve in one of the elected roles, and we have 2 commissioners who are appointed by the Hennepin County Board. Our district includes all of suburban Hennepin County. So it's really all of Hennepin County with the exception of Minneapolis, because Minneapolis has their own park board. And then we have partnerships with other units of government. The best example is Scott County. So we have a long-standing partnership with them where we actually manage their parks on their behalf. If you ever go down to like Cleary Lake or one of the Scott County parks, all the signs are kind of co-branded, so it's Scott County and Three Rivers. It's really a great relationship and it's good government because it helps spread a lot of those administrative costs a little further. And we do indeed partner with some other agencies to run facilities on their behalf. That's primarily golf related. We're experts in golf, and we've been to our Baker Park Golf. We're experts in golf. A good example of that is the Glen Lake Golf Course in Minnetonka. It's owned by Hennepin County, but we run it on their behalf, as an example. So Three Rivers is a large park district. We have over 25 parks, 27,000 acres of land, which is the equivalent of about 42 square miles. And we have 175 miles of regional trail. Regional trails, primarily those trails that are outside our parks, they connect our parks together. You can always identify them because they have the yellow dashed lines. So we see that, those trails around. Dakota Rail Trail is the best example locally. We also have another 300 miles or so of trails within our parks, and those can vary. Some are paved, some are dirt, kind of more hiking trails. I personally like the dirt trails because I like to hike, so I like to get off the pavement. And significantly, we get about 15 million visits a year on the parks and trails. So that's over twice our state's population. So it really is a well-used park system. So at Three Rivers, we make sure that we are welcoming people into our parks. It's been one of our missions for the past few years. And one of the ways we focus on that is outreach programs to groups that represent communities that are underrepresented within our parks. We also run a very successful program called our Try-Its program. And Try-Its are free introductory level programs that try to get new people into the parks to try something new. The best example is and really most popular, is our ice fishing Try-It. So we've done that the past couple of winters, and it brings more people out than you can imagine in the winter, because I think people are really curious. They see people either in a hut or sitting on a bucket out in the lake. They want to know really what are they doing? Is the ice safe for me to be on there? So we really get a lot of people to come out, and we indeed partner with the DNR. We get the augers and make holes and give people fishing rods and see if we can get anybody to catch anything. So another example of our Try-It program, so is our summer program, is called Camping 101. We run that at our Baker campground. We have a 200 spot campground in Maple Plain. And we have a camping library. So we get families who've never camped before, we get them a reservation and set them up with equipment from our library. We show them how to set up and we show them how to break it down. And for the most part, leave them alone for the weekend, because really set up and break down are the most complicated parts. Somebody really has to show you how to do that at least once. So, and it's been successful getting families out camping. Our other goal is recreation, and you can see in summer we have beaches and biking, golf right at Baker, canoeing. We also have close by in Carver Park is the Monarch Mountain Bike Trail, and I'm not a mountain biker, but I have been told by the bike enthusiasts that is one of the best around, so I'm glad that people enjoy that facility. And when the snow flies, the fun keeps happening. So we have downhill skiing in Bloomington at Highland Hills, we have cross country at multiple locations, ski tubing up at Elm Creek, as well as other snowshoeing and other winter sports. So at Three Rivers, outdoor education is really central to who we are. We operate 7 facilities focused on outdoor education. We offer classes as well as programming and numerous nature-based summer camps and lots of school field trips. So we would have nothing if we didn't have our natural resources. That's really our core mission. And one of the things I like to point out, the upper left corner is Crow Hassan Park. It's up in Hassan and Rogers. It's the largest restored prairie in the metro area. So sometimes people say, "Oh, I have to drive like 4 miles, 4 hours east, in Minnesota to see a prairie." We have it right here in Hennepin County. So that's been a project that's been going on for nearly 50 years. And water quality is another area that we're dedicated to. We have over 100 DNR certified aquatic invasive species inspectors at various water access points to inspect watercraft in and out of the water. So we try to do our best to help keep those invasives under control. And moving forward, we're always interested in ongoing partnerships with our cities and our district. We like to work together, and if your city has any challenges with natural resources, we'd be happy to be, you can think of us as a resource. We see what's going on in the county, so a lot of times we have just a good breadth of experience, whether it's water or wildlife related. And I did bring with me a little research on Minnetrista, so we know what people in Minnetrista like to do at Three Rivers. And a couple of the things, so the most visited Three Rivers facilities, no surprise, right, the Dakota Rail Trail, that would be obviously #1 by far. But number 2 is Lake Minnetonka Regional Park, right, so people like to go to the swim pond there. And number 3 would be Gale Woods Farms. And as far as annual passes, so #1 annual pass is that swim pond pass, so you can tell that associates with the Lake Minnetonka Regional Park. Number 2 is the dog off leash pass, and 3 is cross-country skiing. So we know that the folks at Minnetrista like to do a variety of recreation in our parks. And with that, I'd be happy to take any comments or questions anybody might have.
Thank you, Ms. Baird. That's a lot of information, and it's wonderful to have the facilities here that we do have. As you mentioned, the Dakota Rail Trail and Gale Woods, as well as the Minnetonka Regional Park. It's wonderful to have them, and it's great to have a great relationship with you and your staff as well. So really appreciate all the work that you do here in our city. It makes for a better community. So, but if not, thank you very much for coming, and looking forward to seeing you in the future.
Thanks,
All
I
right.
appreciate it.
Thank you. That concludes our special presentations this evening, so we'll move on to persons to be heard. We have Jody Anderson signed up for our dog ordinance. So just a reminder, persons to be heard, you'll have 3 minutes. You have to come to the podium and state your name. The council will not take any action on your presentation this evening, and I'll give it to you.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. My name is Jody Anderson. My husband John and I live at 6501 West Branch Road. We took over the family farm in 2015. It's been in the family for 50 years. John grew up on this farm and graduated from Mount West Tonka. Historically, the farm is and always has been zoned agricultural. Over the years, the farm has been home to cows, horses, ponies, donkeys, goats, chickens, turkeys, guardian dogs, barn cats, house pets, both cats and dogs. In more recent years, we've had barking complaints about our Great Pyrenees dogs who live full-time outside with the livestock. Working dogs come in many forms. The police use them as partners to catch criminals and sniff out illegal substance. The blind or visual impaired use them as their eyes to keep them safe and living independently. Farmers use them to herd animals and protect livestock, and to deter predators. In more recent years, to sniff out problems with crops, dangerous weeds, and soil problems. The physically disabled use them as their hands and feet, and to live as independently as possible. They're used for emotional support, for anxiety, post-traumatic stress. The chronically ill use them to warn them of seizures, low blood sugars, etc. The military use them to sniff out explosives, terrorists in hiding. In all cases, these dogs are respectfully not seen as pets, but as partners with who they serve. They are declared when they are declarated when they die in the line of duty. Special programs make sure they retire well. They are exempt from laws that prohibit entrance to pet dogs and laws that stop them from doing their jobs. I received my 4th citation August 13th while waiting on our court date November 28th, which I pleaded not guilty under the Right to Farm Act. As a resident and taxpayer of Minnetrista, I am asking the committee, the council, to grant a moratorium on citations for my guardian dogs until they have their day in court, as well as to look closer at the ordinance itself. I would be honored to be a part of the future communications. And thank you for your 3 minutes or less. And have a good evening.
All right, thank you. Mr. Anderson, did you want to say anything? You'd have to come to the podium and state your name. Sorry.
Hi, I'm John Anderson, Jody's husband. I would say in the process of all the conflict that we've had with regard to this, law enforcement has been top-notch, very respectful in everything they've done. But we do believe that Minnetrista being a mixed-use community, and with farming being something that we want to see preserved, and in fact we want to see grow, small farms like ours are what we have going, I think are going to be a wave of the future. And so that's really what we're looking at. Guardian animals are unique. They are not pets. There's a lot of case law out there across the country that really takes that into account.
Thank you. We're not going to make any decision here this evening. I think our current ordinance is sufficient. And since you have a pending litigation and court date, obviously we're not going to make any comments. So thank you for coming. We're aware of your situation.
Right.
All right. Thank you. With that, we'll now move on to our consent agenda items. Are there any that need to be removed? All right. Otherwise, they will consist of approve our work session meeting minutes from August 7th, 2023, approve the City Council regular meeting minutes from August 7th, 2023, a resolution to approve our claims, and a resolution to approve the agreement with the West Tonka School District number 277 for lease of the election equipment for the 2023 school board elections. And E is approved the interim pay for Deputy Clerk Angie Bowl. And F is a resolution approving supplemental agreement for professional services for the 2023 pavement forensics study. That would be consent agenda items A, B, C, D, E, and F. Is there a motion to approve those items?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Vickery. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Refkin. Any further questions? Hearing none. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 4-0. So next we'll move on to our public hearings. This is for the Woodland Cove 10th edition. It's for vacating a certain drainage and utility easements in the plats of Woodland Cove 4th edition and Woodland Cove 8th edition. I'll hand it over to David Abel first, and then I'll open it up for the public hearing.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council. I think you explained it quite nicely, Madam Mayor. So M&I is reconfiguring lots within the 4th and 8th edition of Woodland Cove, which will be now called Woodland Cove 10th edition. The general purpose of this replat is they're accommodating a different townhome product that the applicant sees as a more viable based product, and given some market analysis and feedback, they think will be a little more successful than what was originally planned for the 4th and 8th edition. As the mayor stated, the public hearing request this evening is to vacate certain drainage and utility easements, which would allow for this Woodland Cove 10th edition plat. So with that, we have followed Minnesota state statute and provided with a public hearing notice to vacate these said easements. And then as you changed the agenda earlier, you will have a business item to then approve that Woodland Cove 10th edition replat as presented before you this evening.
Thank you. Pretty straightforward. So I'm going to open the public hearing. I've opened the public hearing. If there's anybody here wishing to speak for or against the vacation of these certain drainage and utility easements, you can do so at this time. I don't think anybody is here for that. So with that, we usually don't have a lot of people for this. So with that, I'm going to close the public hearing and take it back to the council. Is there any questions or comments from the council?
I just have a question on the changing of the townhomes. Will the pricing still be in the same area as the other townhomes?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Emily Becker, 5354 Parkdale Drive, Unit 100, St. Louis Park. It will be a little bit less. It is in response to the market, obviously, with the higher interest rates. People aren't able to buy as much house as they previously were. So it will be a little bit less. As of now, I can't tell you how much, just because there does have to be a little bit of price analysis and market analysis. But it will be a little bit less, but again, that's what our potential buyers have been giving us feedback on.
So with that, we can get to other questions too regarding the phase, but any other questions regarding the drainage and utility easements? Otherwise, is there a motion to approve vacating the certain drainage and utility easements in the plats of Woodland Cove 4th edition and Woodland Cove 8th edition?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. McGregor. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Vickery. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. So we'll move on to the business item of approving the final plat of Woodland Cove 10th edition. Any other questions? Are you going to put more villas in? I actually had a couple people ask me that. They're like, well, we want to go and buy one of the villas in Woodland Cove. And I'm like, yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, at this point, there's no plans
Okay.
to readjust, but I will tell you, it's ever-changing
Yes,
with every community that we have. So
Yeah, it is. I know.
can't tell you yes or no for sure.
I know. Anyhow, so any other questions regarding this final plat for the 10th edition? All right. If David, do you need to mention anything?
I do not.
All right. So is there a motion to approve the final plat of Woodland Cove 10th edition? Thank you, Ms. Refkin, and I believe Ms. McGregor seconded that. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes 4-0. And that concludes our business items. Thank you for coming and answering our questions. So we'll move on to staff reports. City Engineer, Allison, Ms. Fauski.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. So just a few items to bring you up to date. We've got some pavement maintenance going on in the city. The crack filling will be done tomorrow, I'm told. And then the Reclamite application will begin on Wednesday morning, starting over at the high school. So we've been coordinating to get an early start to get in and out of there before those high school students come along the road. And so that was much discussion at the pre-construction meeting for that. Other projects, the overlay project, we will be getting punch list items to the contractor here to get that finished up, including any restoration of sod or anything that was damaged. I haven't been through the projects within the last week or so, but certainly the drought is not helping the situation with restoration, but we will continue to work on that. The reclamation project over on North Arm and Trails End area, the final lift went in, rides very nicely. The shoulder work's been all completed through there, restoration complete. So we will be getting that one. I mean, we'll get a punch list ready, but I don't know that we'll have a lot of cleanup items with that one. And then the street reconstruction project. So an update on the road base for Eastview was completed earlier. I think they just finished that today. So the crews will be finished on Eastview there until it comes time to go and get the curb stakes in. So that'll be a few weeks from now. The challenge up in there, once the contractor got in there, is staging to keep people getting to get in and out of their property. So they've been really good to work with it and working with our inspector and all of our staff here as far as tweaking those phasing lines a little bit. We're all, let's get the curb for a larger area so that we can minimize the disruption to residents, but still get the project done. So we'll see a little bit of a pause on Eastview, and then down on Westwood Avenue, crews will start, I think, tomorrow on getting that road brought up to gravel. So we have the weekly construction email going out to let residents know they'll be down in there, making sure we're coordinating with them for access. And then moving up in the middle part there along Morning View Drive, Morning View Court, they'll finish up the water services on that north end of that phase B1. And then once they're done with the water services, they're going down to phase B2. So I think it'll be, as we've had construction all summer through there, all of a sudden it'll be like, oh, curbs in and we're getting paved. So we're getting towards the finish line, getting people in and out of their property with, the gravel road certainly is leaps and bounds for those residents, and appreciate all of their cooperation and assistance with this. And then just also wanted to let council know that I have been in contact with Mount Westonka Bus Company, letting them know that we still have this active construction going on through there. So they are finalizing their routes and their pickup stops. And then once they get that, they'll let me know so that we can make sure we get buses through that area safely, and we identify if we need to shift a stop, just to keep those kiddos out of the active construction area. We'll be working with them, and then we're also asking residents to notify us via the weekly email if there's any private school buses that go through the area, so that we can accommodate them as well. So. Yeah. A lot going on in there, but I know. Keeping it going.
Okay.
That's great.
Council, any questions?
No, I want to say again to everyone involved with the North Arm project, I've had no complaints. Everybody loves the road. Everybody loved how it was done, and it was just a generally fabulous job.
Good. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was probably one of the best contractors I think I've worked with.
Maybe they'll come back.
Great.
Yeah. What contact?
Aztec.
Aztec.
So historically, Aztec has done pavement maintenance projects in Minnetrista,
Yeah.
but this
Seal
was
coat and crack fill, yeah.
So this was the first time they did an overlay project. So we're hoping that
Reclamation.
our part. Well, yes,
Yeah.
reclamation. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And overlay, yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully
Good.
they'll keep their eyes open for future projects in Minnetrista.
Yeah.
Very
Good.
nice, and the finish was quite beautiful.
Yeah.
No, I don't
Yeah,
mean the finish of the road,
yeah.
I mean the finish along the sides of the road, it was very nicely done.
They did a good job.
Yes. All right. Any other staff reports? Do you want to report on the fire donation thing, fire thing? Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I can give a brief update about an idea.
Well, okay, an email I got.
An email.
but go ahead.
So we received an email from the Mound Fire Department. There's a fundraiser that they're doing, an annual golf event. There's an option to do like a donation to not necessarily have like staff playing the golf event, but you donate, and then that allows some money to go to the fire relief fund, and then I think or whatever level we want to do, somebody else gets the golf, like from the fire department. So something like that. I think we're looking at like a $500. There's a $500 option or something like that we could use, and then we would have that come out of the fund that we use to pay our fire contract, I believe, something like that. We're looking at legal to see if this is
No,
even
we talked-
okay.
Talked to Brian. I'm not sure I'm buying that.
Yeah, we talked to Brian briefly before this meeting,
Did you?
and I said, well, we should probably check with legal. We can obviously
This is our-
do $400 or $500, but just the mechanism of donating money to a fire relief fund.
I think it's the Lions that are doing the fundraiser for the beneficiaries is the Mound Fire Department, basically. So I think we were gonna ask Ron if this is an okay contribution, if the council decides that they would like to do this, just to make sure we're on the up and up.
Madam Mayor, Council, I don't have enough facts to answer that question. As you probably know, generally, cities cannot make charitable contributions. I mean, even for good causes. So I guess and luckily Sarah will be back tomorrow. So I will consult with her. I mean, I do think it depends on whether it fits within one of the few narrow exceptions that the city can do. So I will take a look at that, and one of us will get back to you.
Okay, because I do know in years past, the city participated in like Spirit of the Lakes,
Yeah.
But then we also participated in the parade. And then I also wanted to point out to the council, I wouldn't have even come to the council to ask this or to discuss it if it wasn't for the fact that this is a public entity. So it's not a private 501c3, it's for the Mound Fire Department. So that's the only reason I would ask. But if you could check into that, if you guys would like to do a donation.
I don't have a problem with it if we can. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, I guess I don't either.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Okay, so if we can do a 500, if we legally can do this, we'd like to do a $500 donation.
Okay,
So-
we'll check it out.
Okay, thank you. All right. I just think it's a good thing to do, especially since they're one of our contract fire departments, so. And we could use $500 out of our public safety money, right?
The one-time public, yeah, there you go, out of the 372, right?
We got 372 and some change, didn't we? Okay, there you go. Okay, all right. Anything else? And I think we have quite a few things on the planning commission meeting next week.
6
So
items.
I will be there. That'll be interesting. And then any council reports?
We had a personnel committee phone call last week about a clerk hire, and we will be having a follow-up meeting tomorrow about
Right.
same clerk hire.
Well, maybe a different clerk. We don't know.
Different, but the same. I feel like there's an overlap this way to happen.
Okay,
Nothing with Gillespie Center until September 16th.
okay.
When you asked about the whale tail alum treatment
Right.
for the watershed district, and that is gonna, they did the one treatment and then they'll do another one a year from now. So
Okay.
it's just the two.
The two.
And I haven't heard back on the funding, but I'm quite sure that.
It's just within that 1 year.
Yeah, that we don't
Yeah.
want to lose, $400 of
Right.
$400,000
Yeah.
of funding, so, or I guess it'd be half that. So-
Okay.
So I'll get back to you soon as I hear that.
What I had asked Peter is, there was some talk about doing a third treatment if need be. However, it's the timing of it, and you can't do it too close together. You can't do the treatments too close together. And the grant was only available for 1 year. So you have to use the money within that 1 year period. And so I asked him, I said, well, is there any way of shuffling it a little bit, or to do a third treatment if needed, or can we also apply for another grant if we do need a third treatment? So check on it, get back to
Yeah.
us, yeah, I'd be
Yeah,
interested.
apparently if you put in too much too quickly,
It will-
binds with itself.
the alum,
rather than
right.
binding
Right.
phosphorus.
Yeah,
So
Mhm.
I'm sure Brian thought that
Oh,
out
yeah.
very carefully.
yeah, yeah, and I just don't know what the timing there, how
Yeah.
far apart they have to do for it not to bind to each other. I knew that, so, okay, good, thank you.
Yep.
So that was all I had. I don't think there was anything else. So with that, if you make a motion to adjourn, we can be going home.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Vickery. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. McGregor. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Thank you very much. Ron, was that fast enough?
That was very good.